It says I'm live. I'm working on the chatter bit here. Let's see. Let me know if you can hear me. You won't see me yet because I haven't actually toggled over to me, but I will, I promise. I'm actually getting everything set up so I can see it okay. I really appreciate y'all being with me this morning. This is the first time I've tried doing anything like this. I have my guitar in hand. I've got notes. I've got handy tips for you. I've got books. I've got the whole thing. So let me go ahead and flip over to me. Ta-da! Good morning. Say hello if you can see and hear me. Thank you for being my guinea pigs this morning, too. I have a couple of slides. I have a little of this, a little of that. So hopefully the audio is working. Yes, I can certainly be a little louder. Easy to do. Turn up the microphone. How about that? That will get us a little bit more volume. And I think it might be possible for me to boost it up even a little bit more. No, that's fine. We'll leave that like that. How's that, Nancy? Can you hear me better now? So this is my first try at doing what I call a Livestreaminar, where I share a little bit of info and some tips and stuff that I wrote about in the book, in Treasures in My Chest. If you have it already, huzzah, thank you. I appreciate it. But even if you don't have the book, hopefully you'll find this to be helpful. I'm also adjusting to all of the new technology and everything that I have here. And that's that's always a 50-50 proposition. Oh, good. I'm glad. Thank you. Eva, it's so wonderful to see you here, my friend. It's early in California. For any of you who are wanting to get on board the family history bandwagon, perhaps you're a little bit curious, what have you, I'm here to encourage you to do that. I'm here hopefully to help you get started without it being a daunting project. I will say that one of the things about researching your family stories is that you never are done. There's always more to learn, and that's just the way of things, and that's okay. We don't need to have a perfectly done. It's not a puzzle we'll ever finish, and yet there's great joy to be found in each of the little steps along the way sometimes too. So I'm gonna with these Livestreaminars, my intent is to give a tip that's kind of a family history oriented tip, and one that's kind of a DNA oriented tip. Well, good morning, Karen. Hello. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. So I'll give it a tip on each of those things, and then I'll play a tune from the record, and I'll take a couple of questions if you have questions. There is a huge, wide knowledge base. There are many experts that I draw on who've done wonderful work in both the family history in the more traditional sense, the genealogical searching and all of that, as well as on the DNA side of the fence. And it's really, I think of this as the golden age of genealogy, because never before have we had so much at our fingertips. And the advent of at-home DNA testing makes it possible for us to reach back in time just far enough to a time when our ancestors were much less mobile and our world was much smaller. And so we're able to track our ancestors back into places that they may have been in for many generations. Nowadays, when people are meeting people from all over the world, and our cultures become ever more diverse and blended, if this was happening 50 years from now, it would make genealogy that much more challenging. And so I think that this is a really fantastic time, especially since we're all home, sequestered anyway, with looking for things to keep us interested and excited, and not only from going crazy from being cooped up, but, to help with our general state of mind. We have lost an enormous amount of revered elders in just these last few weeks. And these are times unlike any other that most of us have experienced. And one of the comforts that I find in my family history is that for the time that I'm working on something, I have to confess a very non-scientific sounding but very visceral reaction that I feel closer to my ancestors in some way. It just brings a little comfort to be thinking about them and thinking about their story and learning about where my family came from and where my recently departed family shared that ancestry. And so I hope that this not only brings you some entertainment and amusement, but perhaps brings a little comfort too. One of the unexpected silver linings and blessings in all of this time of pandemic is that it is easier than ever to take on my family history tip for today. And that is, back in 2004, I got together, my wife and I were in Connecticut, and we got together with one of my mom's aunts on each side of her family. My mom lost both of her parents by the time she was 20. And so we didn't have as much close connection to my mom's family growing up. And so the opportunity to sit with one of her aunts on her mom's side and one of her dad's siblings was really pretty special to me. And as we were packing to head north on this tour that would include this visit, I told my wife that I wanted to film. I wanted to capture video of my great aunts talking about family history. And we sat at my aunt's house and I asked them questions and they talked for like 2 hours. And the really special thing about that is that within a year, one of those great aunts had lost most of her memory. It was one of the last times that she was really lucid and cogent and able to talk about family history a lot. She passed away in 2010, and yet anytime I want, I can call up that video of Aunt Phyllis talking to me on the camera, and it is really, really special. My other great aunt is 98 years old and still as sharp as a tack and still telling me stories that I have never heard before. And I can't even begin to describe the glee and the consternation sometimes when my great aunt Muriel tells me some new thing. Both of my great aunts were a very big part of me writing this book. So tip number 1 is this. Film your revered elders while they're still here. Even if they don't tell the truth about anything, they're there telling stories that they've held on to, part of the narrative that they've held on to for most of their lives. And that's really special and precious after they're gone to be able to see and hear them doing that again. But here's the thing, in this time of pandemic, it's never been easier to do because grandma has to learn how to Zoom chat or Skype call to see the grandkids. And you can record those, and there you are having this conversation, and there she is. And that's really pretty remarkable. We don't have to do much work. But here's another aspect to it. These times are certainly unprecedented to us. For our revered elders who lived through something like the Great Depression or World War II as a young child, their memories of those events are very meaningful to us because of the prominence of those events in world history. We're living in one of those events in world history right now. And not only will it be fascinating to our families now after our revered elders are gone 10 or 20 years from now, but to our descendants someday to see these conversations unfolding, talking about life during a time of global plague will certainly be of interest. So my big tip, so I'm going to roll through a couple of screens here and I'll just capture that for you and let's see how well I do with my studio mode thing here. See if we're ready. Family history tip, film your elders. Preserve them telling their stories. Man, it is such a blessing to be able to see them talking hear their voice, hear the inflections, hear the body language. See, the body language is incredible too. It has never been easier to do. Everybody is sitting in front of their computer camera and talking and interacting with each other. Let me know how these slides are coming through too, by the way. I've never done this before, so this is not a PowerPoint. This is me setting everything up in the broadcast software, and hopefully it works okay for you. So, and a reminder that these are unique times. By the way, side note here, it's not a dumb thing to keep a journal yourself of what's going on in the world. The things that we took for granted about seeing our neighbors and hugging friends and going to the grocery store and all that. This is a really different thing going on here. I also want to talk about a DNA tip. Because we're using DNA a whole lot, a lot of people are sort of befuddled by, they took the DNA test and then boom, there's all these matches and there's this ethnicity estimate and there's all of this stuff, and what do I do with all of that? And oh good, thank you, great, fantastic. I hope it's useful, or at least inspiring to go out and make those films. I find that with the DNA side of the fence, the whole thing about doing genealogy and learning your family stories, which is what I was really after. I wanted to know the people. I wanted to know not just the dates, the dash. The dash is what's interesting to me. That point between the birth date and the death date, how they lived their lives, what they did. And it's really fascinating to be able to get deeper and deeper into that. But if you haven't really done this before, one of the things that really helps you nail down which family is yours is using the DNA side by side with the family research. They go hand in hand. And here's my DNA tips for today. I'm going to go back to my slides again and see if this one works. See how well I've done here. Turn that on. Grouping your matches. We all have 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, whether we know them or not. Biologically speaking, this is our genetic inheritance, right? And so one of the first things I try to do is help people to organize those matches, to help them start by figuring out, well, is it on your father's side or on your mother's side? And maybe you don't know that. Maybe if you're an adoptee, all of this is really new kind of stuff. What I can tell you is this: you can't tell from a single DNA match whether that's a paternal or a maternal match, unless you know, of course, who it is. You need a third person, a shared match that shares that DNA with both of you. And these people are also known as cousins. This is why it's really handy to get your cousins into the testing hopper. So what I try to do is look at how these close matches might relate, and my cousins help me to figure out which grandparent they go with. My dad's father, my dad's mother, or my mom's father, or my mom's mother. And if you have first cousins, that's wonderful. That tells you whether it's a paternal match or a maternal match most of the time. But the second cousins are the ones that really matter, and I'll talk more about them in a minute, because they help you zero in on one of your grandparents in particular. Now, I can tell you that my friends with Jewish ancestry are probably nodding their heads a little bit right now going, yeah, if only it was that easy. Because in a lot of communities where there's close kinship, you may be related to people more than one way. And I'm not talking about I am my own grandpa kind of stuff here, but really that in close-knit communities, I have a friend that I've helped with her heritage, and her family is Jewish, and her dad and mom share a lot of cousins. So the cousins are not all of that helpful in determining which part of the family it is. But when you know for a fact which cousin belongs where, and you know that that's the way that they're related, then that's a really helpful thing. So my final bit about that is a sort of a nugget to carry along with your DNA matching. And that is that second cousins are the treasure of genetic genealogy. Because second cousins really 100% of the time share DNA. So if you have a second cousin, you should match DNA. If you don't, there's probably a twist to the story, a few different pages, or perhaps an entirely different chapter. Second cousins share a set of great-grandparents. So that would mean that it would be one of my father's siblings, for instance, that is their ancestor. And so we share a set of great-grandparents. As long as you share only one relation, those second cousins are a real powerful help in grouping your matches on one of your 4 grandparents. So what I'm going to do now is, because I am a singer-songwriter and because the book is definitely all about the music too, I'm going to play a song for you now from the new record. And that'll give you time, if you have questions that you want to dump into the YouTube chat here, you're more than welcome to do that. And I want to speak mostly to the question of the why. Why do we do this? You know, what is it that makes us curious about our ancestry enough to want to try to learn these stories and all of that? And truth of the matter is, every one of those positions on your family tree, whether you know the name and the story that fills it in or not, they're all essential to you being here. That's all part of your, without any one of those, take any one of those people away and you're not here. That's kind of powerful stuff to me. So I got to thinking, you know, they deserve to have their names said out loud every now and then, or at least be remembered or acknowledged. And of course, because I'm a singer-songwriter, what that really means is that sooner or later, it still is all about me. This is called Web of Mystery. I've been trying to touch the past. I want to know just why I am. Reach back through the mist of time. So much I want to understand. You were a child once like me, full of wonder, full of pain. There's times that you were scared. I know that sometimes you were brave. This is the only life I've known. In part you gave it to me. Look behind or look ahead. You are woven in the thread in my web of mystery. I'm still trying to touch the past while the present slips away. But I've gotta know how your part goes before those pages fade to gray. You were old once like me. I wish that I could see your face. No one else knows what's past our eyes. Hurt and anger, love and grace. This is the only life I've known. web of mystery. Someday, centuries from now, like coaxing amber into flame, since I've left a verse or two behind, someone might still speak my name. Someone might still speak my name. Someone might still speak my name. That's Web of Mystery. And indeed, it is, isn't it? The stories that we inherit are ours to discover. I'm always fond of pointing out that we are no more responsible for the sins of our ancestors than we are due their credit for their accomplishments and their glories. We are simply the inheritor of all of their stories. And I don't see any questions popping up in the chat room here, so I'll let you go for another minute or two just in case, but I wanted to keep these kind of short. I do have another concert coming up at my website on Friday, on May 1st, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. And that means really late in Ireland and the UK. But I do hope that you'll tune in. It is a ticketed show. What I'm doing today is free. I'm going to do these webinars just to share some information, to share a little time together, talking about stuff that's really kind of fascinating. You are, of course, welcome to do the donating thing if you would like to do so, though I would greatly appreciate that. I'm going to flash the PayPal and Venmo thing on up here for you. Most of all, though, it's just I think a really a fascinating thing to be able to share our stories together. And the more that we learn about our stories, I don't know, the more we learn about ourselves. I wrote in the book in chapter 18 or 19 about how my great-grandparents raised me and my kid as I started to realize some of the things that had been handed down parenting-wise. So I'm going to try to do a regular schedule of these live streaminars. I'm not sure exactly what that schedule is going to be just yet. If you want a copy of the book, you can get it from me. I'll sign, seal, and walk it up to my own post office. You can do that at the website. Of course, you can get the book at Amazon too. Two things I'd love to have you do if you haven't already. If you're on my email list already, thank you. And if you're not, you can head right on over to andrewmcknight.net and you can sign on board right on the homepage. And while you're here, if you don't mind subscribing to my YouTube channel so you'll know the next time I'm going to do something like this. It won't be long. I'm learning how to use all of this new technology. I'm trying to do a little singing on Facebook once a week too, for just to give a little something back to this dark and hurting world and this dark and hurting time anyway. So thanks so much for being with me. Oh yay, Karen, you've had a great story with your DNA. Lovely. I helped one of my third cousins. She popped up in my dad's DNA matches one day. She lives in Liverpool. And she was an adoptee, and she didn't really know anything about her story. And we were able to determine together within a few short weeks, she was able to know how she connected to our family and all of that family history. And we figured out who her birth mother was too. And she got her records and everything in Scotland. And it was a really powerful experience for me. Just I enjoy sharing this, and I enjoy meeting new cousins and having this communication across the pond and all that. But it didn't really hit me until after she was writing to me, telling me this, and just how powerful that experience had been for her. And I have to say, it was a real honor to just be able to help a little bit. So I'm just delighted that you've had a powerful, good story that way too. Thank you for sharing that. So, with that, friends, I'm going to say goodbye for now. I'll stay on the chat room for a little bit. I'll be on Facebook today, too. You're always welcome to email me, and I hope we can do this again real soon. And if you've got ideas about something that I might be able to talk about that might be useful to you in the future, by all means, please let me know. Thanks so much, and have a great weekend. Be safe out there, okay? Stay strong, stay kind.